The rusted 1965 Ford Mustang sat on the corner of the lot, a magnet for hushed whispers and averted glances. For months, its ridiculously low price tag of $90 had done nothing to attract a buyer. The reason was as dark as the shadows it cast. The car was a rolling tomb, forever linked to the tragic accident that had claimed the lives of an entire family. To the townspeople, it was nothing but the death car. But to Richard, a father with little money and a heart full of hope, the car was something else entirely. He had watched other kids race by in their own cars, leaving his daughter behind. He ached to give her the same chance, the same sense of freedom. He heard the warnings and saw the distrust in the locals' eyes, but he couldn't bring himself to care. He saw beyond the dents and the rust. He saw a chance to give his daughter a future, to erase the shame of their poverty. To him, the Mustang wasn't a curse, it was a vessel of hope, a promise he was determined to keep. Richard bought the Mustang for a song and a prayer. He towed it home, a rusted corpse rattling behind his pickup, and parked it in the garage where it sat like a forgotten secret. For weeks, he spent every spare moment with the car. He wasn't a mechanic, but he was resourceful. He watched old instructional videos, read worn-out manuals, and scavenged for parts at junkyards, his hands growing calloused and grimy. He drained the old gas, replaced the spark plugs, and cleaned the carburetor. With each turn of a wrench, each drop of oil, he felt the car transforming. It wasn't just a machine anymore. It was a project, a symbol of his love for his daughter. One afternoon, his daughter Lily came into the garage. She was a bright-eyed girl of 15, and her smile was the light of Richard's world. She ran her hand over the car's chipped paint, her face a mix of awe and worry. "Dad," she said, her voice soft. "People say it's cursed." Richard straightened up, wiping his oily hands on a rag. "Lily, a car is just metal and wires. It's not magic and it's not cursed. It's what we make it." He looked at her, his eyes full of earnest love. "This car isn't about what happened before. It's about what happens now. It's about you." He spent the next 2 weeks working relentlessly. On a crisp Saturday morning, with the garage door wide open, he turned the key in the ignition. The engine sputtered, coughed, and then with a glorious roar came to life. The sound was like music, a symphony of hope. Lily watched, her eyes wide with disbelief, as her father backed the car out into the driveway. He gestured for her to get in. She hesitated for a moment, then with a deep breath slid into the passenger seat. The seats were worn, the dashboard scratched, but the engine hummed with a quiet power. "Ready for your first lesson?" Richard asked, his voice thick with emotion. Lily smiled, a genuine, joyful smile that lit up her entire face. "More than ready, Dad." As they drove, the old Mustang didn't feel like a cursed car. It felt like a promise. But as they turned onto a long, winding road, the same road where the accident had happened all those years ago, a dense fog began to roll in, thick and unnatural. A shiver ran down Lily's spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone in the car. The thick, milky fog swallowed the road ahead, turning the familiar world into a ghostly, silent void. The hum of the Mustang's engine was the only thing that felt real. Lily gripped the armrest, her knuckles white. She couldn't see the road, only the ghostly shapes of trees and the faint glint of their own headlights. Reflecting off the mist, "Dad," she said, her voice a shaky whisper, "I can't see anything." Richard's hands were steady on the wheel. "It's okay, honey. Just a little fog. I'll go slow." But the car had other ideas. The engine, which had purred so reliably just moments before, began to stutter and cough. The dashboard lights flickered erratically, and the radio, which had been silent, suddenly crackled to life with a blast of static. Then through the noise, a faint, high-pitched giggle. "Dad, what was that?" Lily asked, her eyes darting to the rearview mirror. She saw nothing but a wall of white fog, but she could feel a cold presence in the back seat, a chill that had nothing to do with the outside air. Richard didn't answer. He was wrestling with the steering wheel. The car was pulling to the left towards the deep ravine on the side of the road. He tried to correct it, but the wheel was locked. "An invisible force guiding the Mustang. The brakes, Dad!" Lily yelled. Richard stomped on the pedal, but nothing happened. The Mustang hurtled forward, picking up speed, as if it were on a mission of its own. The eerie giggling from the back seat grew louder, joined now by the sound of a woman weeping softly and a man's frantic yell. The air in the car grew heavy with the sense of damp earth and rust, the same smells of a car crash. Lily squeezed her eyes shut, a tear tracing a path down her cheek. She could feel the spectral passengers in the back seat, their combined sorrow and fear overwhelming her. The car was not a gift of hope. It was a cage of ghosts. Then, with a final, heart-stopping lurch, the Mustang swerved sharply to the left. Richard braced himself, his jaw set. This was it. The end. But the car didn't plunge into the ravine. It came to a grinding halt inches from the edge. The engine died with a final sputtering sigh. The giggling, the weeping, the fear, all of it vanished, leaving only the deafening silence of the fog. Richard and Lily sat there trembling, their hearts pounding in their ears. They were safe, but they knew with absolute certainty that the Mustang had not just been a car. It had been a witness, and now it was a home for the spirits of the family it had once carried. After what felt like an eternity, Richard finally broke the silence. "Lily," he breathed, his voice hoarse, Are you okay?" Lily could only nod, her entire body shaking with a mix of fear and relief. Her eyes were fixed on the windshield, where the fog had already begun to thin, as if the spectral episode had been a figment of their shared imagination. But the memory of the cold air, the disembodied sounds, and the feeling of 100 ghostly eyes on them was too vivid to dismiss. They managed to get the car started again, the engine rumbling to life with a quiet obedience as if nothing had happened. They drove home in stunned silence, the air in the car now thick with a new kind of quietude, not of peace, but of shared terror. That night, Richard couldn't sleep. He sat in the living room staring at the phone, wondering who he could possibly call. Who would believe him? The local mechanic? The police? They would think he was a crazy old man who had let the town's ghost story get to him. But he knew the truth. The car wasn't cursed in the way the townspeople thought. It was haunted, and the spirits weren't malevolent, they were just trapped. Their final moments were playing out on a loop, forever tied to the vehicle that had been their final journey. The next day, Richard walked out to the garage and looked at the Mustang. It sat there innocent and beautiful, the morning sun catching on its polished chrome. He considered putting a "for sale" sign on it and trying to forget everything that had happened. But the thought of another family, another unsuspecting father, another innocent daughter, sitting in that car and experiencing the same terror, he couldn't do it. The car had chosen them, and he felt a strange sense of responsibility. He decided he couldn't sell the car, but he couldn't just keep it either. He had to help the spirits find peace. But how do you help a ghost? He began to search for answers, not in mechanics' manuals this time, but in dusty old books on local history and folklore from the town library. He discovered the names of the family that had died in the accident, the Millers. He found a photograph of them, a father with a kind smile, a mother with a gentle face, and a young daughter no older than Lily, with pigtails and a gap-toothed grin, the same girl whose giggle he'd heard in the car. He learned where the Millers were buried in a small, forgotten cemetery on the outskirts of town. He knew what he had to do. He drove the Mustang to the cemetery, a strange pilgrimage of hope and fear. As he drove, he spoke to the empty back seat, his voice low and earnest. He told them about Lily, about his dream for her, and about how he saw them not as ghosts, but as a family that had lost its way. He parked the car near the Millers' graves and sat in the driver's seat, feeling the cold, familiar presence behind him. "I know you're here," he whispered, his voice catching in his throat. "And I know you're scared. But you can let go now. You're home." He sat in the car for a long time, the silence broken only by the rustling of leaves and the distant chirping of birds. He felt the cold air dissipate and the pressure in the car lift. He turned around. The back seat was empty and the air was warm, filled with the scent of fresh-cut grass and sunshine. He felt a profound sense of peace wash over him. The death car was no longer haunted. It was just a car, a gift of hope for his daughter, restored not just mechanically but spiritually. He had faced down the town's whispers and the ghosts of the past, and he had won. As Richard drove away from the cemetery, a profound peace settled over him. The air in the Mustang felt lighter, the engine ran smoother, and the phantom chill was gone. The car was no longer a hearse for ghosts, but a vessel of hope, just as he had first imagined. He drove to the local high school and found Lily waiting outside. She was talking to her friends, a self-conscious smile on her face. When she saw her dad pull up in the restored Mustang, her eyes lit up. "Dad, it's running perfectly," she exclaimed, her fear from the previous day replaced with pure joy. "It is," Richard said, a quiet pride in his voice. "And now it's yours, all yours." Lily slid into the driver's seat, her hands trembling slightly on the wheel. This time the car felt different. It felt like a fresh start, not a dark ending. News of the Mustang's transformation spread quickly through town. The death car was no longer a morbid curiosity, but a symbol of Richard's dedication and the strength of a father's love. The whispers died down, replaced by a newfound respect for Richard and a sense of wonder at the beautiful old car. Richard's act of kindness, not just for his daughter but for the restless spirits, had brought peace not only to the car but also to the town itself. The story of the Mustang became a legend, a testament to the idea that love and hope can heal even the deepest wounds. And so the 1965 Ford Mustang, once a monument to tragedy, became a cherished part of the community, a living symbol of a father who went to extraordinary lengths for his daughter. It carried Lily to and from school, to her first dates, and eventually to college. With every mile, it drove further from its dark past and deeper into a future filled with light and promise. As Richard drove away from the cemetery, a profound peace settled over him. The air in the Mustang felt lighter, the engine ran smoother, and the phantom chill was gone. The car was no longer a hearse for ghosts, but a vessel of hope, just as he had first imagined. He drove to the local high school and found Lily waiting outside. She was talking to her friends, a self-conscious smile on her face. When she saw her dad pull up in the restored Mustang, her eyes lit up. "Dad, it's running perfectly," she exclaimed, her fear from the previous day replaced with pure joy. "It is," Richard said, a quiet pride in his voice. "And now it's yours. All yours." Lily slid into the driver's seat, her hands trembling slightly on the wheel. This time the car felt different. It felt like a fresh start, not a dark ending. News of the Mustang's transformation spread quickly through town. The death car was no longer a morbid curiosity, but a symbol of Richard's dedication and the strength of a father's love. The whispers died down, replaced by a newfound respect for Richard and a sense of wonder at the beautiful old car. Richard's act of kindness, not just for his daughter but for the restless spirits, had brought peace not only to the car but also to the town itself. The story of the Mustang became a legend, a testament to the idea that love and hope can heal even the deepest wounds. And so the 1965 Ford Mustang, once a monument to tragedy, became a cherished part of the community, a living symbol of a father who went to extraordinary lengths for his daughter. It carried Lily to and from school, to her first dates, and eventually to college. With every mile, it drove further from its dark past and deeper into a future filled with light and promise.